I know what you're thinking. This looks fun, but how the hell do I use it? Well, that's what I'm going to show you today, Banditos. Let's get into the Deflector Shield build.
Piece of shit wristwatch.
The Deflector Shield is pretty cool, but if you don't build around what it can and cannot do, then you're just gonna have a miserable time with it. That's because it doesn't really cover your full body and you can only use a sidearm with it, unlike the other shields that allow you to use your primary weapon. So that right there is gonna create a lot of problems. But the biggest problem with the shield is how it affects NPC behavior. But let's just put that aside for now and jump straight into this really cool build that I have for you today. Let's do it. So this is the Deflector Shield skill build that I have for you. It doesn't look like a skill build though, does it? Nope, but it's got everything you need to be successful with this shield in the most difficult heroic content that you can take on. This is mostly tailored for the open world. That's because you face a lot of elites. In missions, there's not so many elites, so it's a little bit easier in missions. So rest assured, this can hold down the fort when you take over the control points. So for primary weapons, I just go for whatever, but it's nice to have a really good sniper in case you get pinned down or whatever, or you want to take out a key target from cover at range. So that's all that's about. And I just have the Nemesis there. Otherwise, the weapon that you're going to want to run is the Liberty. This is actually going to be a headshot build. And it might surprise you that I'm saying use the Liberty on a headshot pistol build. There's some reasons behind it, nice synergies. But if you don't want to use this, you can also run the Regulus or the D50, and you might be thinking running Determined, which aligns well with headshot builds. However, the Deflector Shield doesn't pair well with Determined. It consumes it. And what that means is you won't have Determined active consistently. So you don't want to run Determined. But there's lots of other talents you could run here. You could run those that buff your skill, or you can run those that buff your weapon, or those that give you more armor on kill, like Preservation. But for me, the Liberty is where it's at. So if you just compare these two weapons real quick, the D50 class is the strongest class outside of the Regulus. And so the Liberty, as you can see, has a stronger base weapon damage than the D50, the non-exotic version. And the non-exotic D50 has 19% expertise, and my Liberty only has 12% expertise, and it's still stronger considerably. I do recommend you put at least 12% expertise on your Liberty. It's a really good gun, great for shield builds. Anyways, it's got 173 RPM. That's gonna go straight to your DPS, and it's better than the regular D50. It's a really good RPM, and it's got 8 rounds in the mag. But there's more. So we got pistol damage and damage to targets out of cover, but it's also got a faster reload inherently. And if you look at the stats, accuracy and stability up there on the D50, the Liberty has better accuracy and stability also. So it's got better handling. So it's stronger, it's faster, which means more DPS, and you can land more shots with it. So the base weapon itself is already better. Then there's the talent. So you can put something on your D50 to give it a power boost, no doubt. Something like close and personal or whatever. But the Liberty has something else going on. So hits grant 2% weapon damage, basically body shots, stacking up to 30 times. That's crazy. But we're not going to be going for body shots. We're going to be going for headshots. And when you go for headshots, it's going to consume all those stacks to repair your shield at 3% per stack. Now here's the deal. If this is a headshot build, then why am I doing something that consumes our buff from the talent every time we hit the headshot? So the way that this is playing out is inevitably you're going to be landing shots on the body, even if you're going for the head, because the enemy, when they're in ADS mode, pointing their weapon at you, their hand and their rifle is right in front of their face. And because you got 173 RPM, you can spam your trigger and go for that head, but inevitably 1 or 2 shots might land on their body, and then you get that headshot kill. So what that's going to be doing is, in that scenario, giving you 3 to 6% shield recovery. That might not sound like something you need, but let me just warn you. The Deflector Shield is designed to break. All of the shields are, except for basically the Bulwark, which is a car door and designed to have way more resistance than the rest of these. They're sort of part-time skills. They're not meant to be used full-time, and that's why they break so much. But we're gonna resist that, and that's one of the ways we're doing it is by constantly giving our shield a 3 to 9% recovery. So that's gonna keep our shield going strong. Okay, let's jump to the Deflector Shield. What does it do? Well, it's got a 3.3 per second cooldown, and we got some health at 7.5 on this build, which is not too bad. So I have this at a tier 6. It's as strong as it can get. We don't need overcharge on this shield. Anyways, we got active regen, shield health, holstered regen, and deflector damage. As far as your mods, you're going to want shield health here, and then deflector damage. You want to double up your deflector damage. And then this is just a vanity. But if you don't have deflector damage, I recommend health. So what it's going to do is deflect enemies' bullets, and the average damage at a tier 6 build is going to be 163,568. But that depends on who's shooting at you. For the rest of it, it's built into the primary weapon, which is the pistol, and then your added survivability. So let me tell you the way I construct my deflector shields, and I've done them all. I've done heavy on the skill side, I've done heavy on the tank side, and then I've done all on the weapon damage. But what I have found is to build it in this order. First, it's a pistol build, then it's a tank build, and then it's a skill shield build. So you want to prioritize your build in that order. The shield has already gotten a really good priority because the shield are the only skill that's buffed by blue armor cores. And so since we have a bunch of those, we got to a tier skill 6. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 armor cores, and then a skill tier. So that puts us up 5 skill tiers. And then technician is giving us the 6th. So that makes it a very strong skill and basically all the buff you need for this shield. And then to further buff it, I'm running the Artificer Hive. So this is going to buff the duration, the damage, the repair of that skill. You only get access to this with Technician. You don't have to run this, but it's another nice way to buff your skill. So for Technician, make sure you have skill damage applied in your skill tree. And then we're running the Memento. So the Memento is really a big deal for this shield because we're always playing in close range. So we got 3 core attributes, one being a skill tier, and then we get short-term and long-term buffs. So let's focus first on the skill efficiency, the yellow one. So when we have full stacks, which you get by killing enemies, so when you kill 30 enemies, you're at full stacks. That's going to give us 30% skill efficiency, and skill efficiency hosts all the skill stats that you need, like skill health, skill damage, duration, repair, status effects, and skill health. So everything's going to be in there that you need. And so you can have 30% of that running on your build at all times. And then on kill, you're going to get a short-term buff of another 30%. And that's because it's 5% skill efficiency per skill tier, and we have 6 of those. And then when you kill an enemy, you're going to get a 5% skill efficiency buff per skill tier. That really helps. And then we got bonus armor, which is going to be 10% bonus armor per blue core. We got tons of those. We got 4. So that's 40% in bonus armor. When we're at full stacks, we're gonna have 3% armor regen, so that's some underlining heals. And then weapon damage, we got 3 cores, so that's 15% on kill that we're gonna be gaining when we grab that trophy. And then we'll have another 30% weapon damage in the background when we're at full stack. Very strong, and you're constantly buffing your shield and your weapon and your bonus armor, and you're playing in the range where it just makes sense to be grabbing those trophies. I do have other deflector skill builds. I also made one that synergizes with the Ridgeway's Pride chest piece, the exotic chest piece. It's really the only time I use that one. It's very unique, but I decided to do something a little bit different, which, by the way, you might recognize the bones of this build because it's a form of our XP farm build. I just altered it to fit the shield, which is why it has a ton of survivability. As you've probably already seen, we're running 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury, and Hunter's Fury is a shotgun and SMG gear set, but we don't care. It's strong even if you're not running those weapons, as long as you're playing within that range, which we are. So we're gonna get that 20% armor on kill, health on kill too, but Apex Predator gives us 20% amplified damage just by standing close to the enemy, which is within 15 meters. And then if you kill that enemy, it's gonna disorient the dudes around him, anybody within 5 meters. And then you're gonna get more amplified damage at 5% for 10 seconds, and that stacks 5 times. So that's a lot of amplified damage, really helping your pistol. But remember, that's not amplifying your skill, that's just your weapon. So then we got weapon damage, headshot damage, and headshot damage. So you're gonna want headshot damage everywhere because we're going for headshots, and we're gonna wanna be chain killing as much as possible, which is very possible with this build. Notice I had headshot damage on the backpack. Okay, the gloves are Hunter's Fury also, but on this one I have armor. And then the knees, armor also. And you guessed it on the holster, armor and headshot damage. Let's look at the chest piece. So the chest piece is D&H, 20% pistol damage. It means a lot for your sidearm. So 15% weapon damage, handling headshot damage, and more headshot damage. We don't really need handling. Pistols don't gain a ton from it. It's very hard to detect how it's helping. What would I put there instead? I don't know, maybe some armor regen. And then we're running Headhunter. This is key. There's some caveats to it though when you're running this particular skill. When you get a headshot kill, you're gonna get 125% additional damage based on that killing blows damage. That's gonna cap at 1,250% as long as you have 150% headshot damage on your build. The good news is that pistols come with a silent buff or a silent stat that is a headshot damage stat. So if we look here to the pistol, we have 200% headshot damage easy, and we definitely didn't load that up on the build. So between that headshot damage and the amplified damage and then the backpack trophy stacks, you're gonna be doing a pretty good job at one-shot killing enemies. Plenty of that shown in the gameplay footage. So here's the deal. Here's the caveat that I gotta explain. So when you have a Headhunter proc, the shield can use that Headhunter proc to eliminate an enemy with a single bullet. But if you're fast, you can always maintain it on your pistol. It's actually a great thing. It's getting an enemy out of your way pretty quick. But for the most part, like 80% of the time, it's my pistol that's using Headhunter. But every now and again, that skill is gonna pitch in. And that's how you want it. So earlier I explained that you want this to be a handgun build first, and then you want it to be a tank build, which we are at 1.5 million in armor, and then you want it to be a skill build. This particular skill really changes AI behavior. The elites are always going to be shooting at your head. They avoid the shield a lot, like 80% of the time. The non-elites will shoot at the shield every time if they shoot at you. But for some reason, when you pop up the shield, they get this like deer in the headlights effect where they just stand there and stare at you, and so nobody's shooting at you. And so if nobody's shooting at you, or more importantly, if nobody is shooting at the shield, it's not deflecting. And so if you overspec into the shield and you're relying on it to be your tool to clear that control point or whatever content, it's gonna take forever. They don't shoot at it enough, and it's a problem. And when that elite is banging you on the head, you end up going down pretty quickly. I mean, you're out of cover, you're taking damage from the rear, from the sides, and then direct shots from elites to the head. And that's why you don't want to overspec into the shield. It just doesn't pay. Now, sometimes I do get lucky and there'll be a control point or a moment in time when every enemy is shooting at the shield and I get to go hellfire on them, but it just doesn't happen enough to make it worth it. Try it though. Don't take my word for it. Try it. Put a lot of skill damage into it, but just pay attention to how long it takes you to clear a control point. But this is my favorite way because I like to maintain my time to clear content and survivability while taking advantage of a very fun and unique skill, and I feel like this build brings it all. There are people that use this in Legendary. I definitely don't recommend it, and I don't recommend it in group either, but if you do use it in Legendary, or if you see other people using it, you will notice that they're sort of hiding in a closet and sticking out just a little piece of their shield. I don't know, it just doesn't seem to make sense to play it that way in Legendary especially. I feel like, well, if you can do that, wouldn't you just be better off with like an attack turret and an attack drone? Just throw out two skills. Because with the shield, I think part of it is to help you be mobile, kind of be out there, and you really can't do that in Legendary. So, and if you get hit with one explosive, which they have a ton of, then your shield is toast. It's gone. It's just any shield, really. It just doesn't do well with explosives, and that's what our Legendaries are full of. So it's just not really a good Legendary piece. There's a few people out there in this game that have mastered it in Legendary, but you have to be really aggressive to get it to work, and that just is not everybody's play style. You basically have to spawn kill and make sure your back is to a corner, and it's crazy. But, you know, it could be a fun experience to try it. I hope you have fun with this one. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is Tuxedo Bandido. That's Tito Bandido.
What's crack-a-lackin'?
This was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
When you buy a game from Ubisoft, enter the creator code Tuxedo Bandido to support the channel. Easy peasy. Now maybe this cheapskate can afford to sign me up for that dating app I've had my eyes on.
Follow me.
I get it.